Hello there, my name is Cedric, or Stupid You. I am the creator of FreeGameFindings. This one is gonna be crazy. Minisforum, the team that builds top-of-the-line fantastic mini PCs, has been expanding their catalog as of late. Around halfway through the year, the team started their lineup of network-attached storage solutions, the N5 AI NAS and the N5 Pro AI NAS. These things are crazy and touting some wild specs, especially for a NAS. The Pro is kitted out with an AMD Ryzen AI 9 HX Pro 370, which is a 12-core, 24-threaded, 5.1 GHz CPU. Also included is an 890M integrated GPU, as well as up to 50 TOPS with the integrated NPU. It includes support for up to 96 GB of 5600 megatransfer DDR5 SODIMM ECC RAM memory, and 144 TB of storage. This thing is nuts. A product sold as a NAS that can do AI tasks, lots of rendering, and plenty more. NAS stuff might be a little bit over my head as of right now, but I've been wanting to get into it for quite some time. So this is pretty wonderful. I was sent this N5 Pro AI NAS by Minisforum. Excuse that I'm currently just showing the box, it's plugged in over there, which I'll be taking a look at and giving some thoughts on. I'll be doing so very much as a novice, but I think that's good too. Excited to jump on into it. And you can too with the Black Friday sale going on Minisforum's store right now, as of this video going live, and potentially a couple days before. Not exactly sure yet. Stay tuned until the end of the video to learn more about how you can win yourself a keyboard from the Minisforum product line over on the FGF subreddit. With that out of the way, let's unbox and try my N5 Pro AI NAS. Packaged in this box that I've kind of mangled a tad, we see it crowning you. Getting this thing out of here and opening it on up, we can start off with this smaller box. First things first, this adapter board. You can use this to enable the use of U.2 SSDs. I don't have any, but it's still pretty nice to have, maybe in the future. Plus it gives us a good excuse to check out this lovely screen printed PCB. Ooh la la. Putting that aside, we can see the rest of our accessories. Some informative paper, a short HDMI cable, a pretty short Ethernet cable, a power cable for my region. There's a bar that we will see later on, some screws, another set of screws, and a cable for use with that adapter we spoke of moments ago. Next thing I see here is this cover for the hard drive bays. It is magnetic, which is quite nice. And now with all these little things out of the way, we can watch it as I struggle with this big fella. After pulling the sword out of the stone and removing this little sleeve thing, we see the NAS, a gorgeous little machine from front to back. 5 toolless hard drive bays with some nice release mechanisms. It's springy, cool. At the back of them is a connector to the motherboard in the bottom, a whole bevy of I/O, which is lovely too, front and back. And before I continue, here's a power bar that was tucked into the very bottom of the box. Before wrapping this section on up, we'll have a quick look at the brains of the operation. The bottom section of the NAS is the most insane of it all. I'm not going to disassemble the cooler here, but we are looking at a motherboard rocking an AMD Ryzen 9 HX Pro 370 CPU, which is a top-end mobile chip, and it sports that lovely 890M integrated GPU as well. There's a fan on both sides to keep some things cool. They're not the quietest of fans, but they're also not very loud either. I can hear them, but they're nothing too bad. Also here, we can see the PCIe 16 lane that is free to be used, which is pretty fantastic. Whatever you do try to fit into this thing, make sure it doesn't exceed the power limits of the device, and of course that it physically fits it, you know. And to close things all off, the version that Minisforum sent me came with 2 sticks of 48 GB 5600 megatransfer SODIMM ECC RAM, and a pretty standard 128 GB Gen 3 M.2 SSD for the operating system. Now with it all out, here's a quick overview. The magnetic front cover, the U.2 adapter board, this box of accessories, the beefy power bar, and the highlight of it all, of course, this just so lovely looking NAS. Oh, it is just wonderful. With that out of the way, let us get to reviewing it. Alright, this is gonna be something. I'm going into this project without ever setting up a NAS before, but always wanting to. I use 3 different computers at home that could all benefit from connecting to a NAS, oh, and even a TV that probably could use a media server or something. Right out of the gate, this is a whole PC, 12-core, 5.1 GHz CPU with RDNA 3.5 graphics on the iGPU. This is an overkill system to use purely as a NAS, but you surely can. You'll probably be wanting to keep an eye on the cost of entry if that is your only use case though. One of those decommissioned office PCs probably would make a lot more sense if you're trying to do something more budgety, and is actually what I was originally planning on doing once upon a time. The performance you can get out of a machine like this one though is really solid, but it is again marketed as a NAS. AI tasks, large-scale VMs, etc. You can even get a small enough GPU internally or use Oculink. This is a great PC system alone alone, completely forgetting about the NAS-ness of it all. Hell, I could see somebody loading up any OS like Windows or something like that and using it like normal, but just having some fun storage solution right up top with the bays. For this review, I'll be focusing on it as a NAS. I will have edited the entire video off of it, its storage at least, configured the OS that I chose, popped in some drives that I had lying around, and set it up for use at my place, while also integrating it into my quote-unquote workflow. I'm not sure what kind of VM work I would actually need to be doing, so I can't think to explore that right now. I don't imagine I have any use for that NPU either, but it's possible I could down the road. Locally running large language models is a big deal, what with all that RAM. Oh, it's also worth mentioning that this thing has pretty low power draw on idle and reasonable power draw under load. That kind of thing will expand as your drives do, of course. The more drives, the more power, and you know, there's probably more power-hungry drives. I don't have any way to keep track of that myself, so I'm referencing this post and some other commonly accepted opinions on this NAS system. The power of a mobile-focused CPU chip, of course. One more thing I should mention is that this NAS supports both a 10 gigabit and 5 gigabit LAN port, but I don't really have a good way to utilize that. Huge for those that do though. To actually get into the machine here, the operating system. I won't be using the default operating system. It is an in-house Minisforum OS that is probably fine, but it might be a little bit difficult for me to get into as I'm not super comfortable with, you know, a whole NAS project going into an early unproven OS. And if I end up getting stuck anywhere and need to reference something, it just makes sense to do something that's a bit more proven, like TrueNAS. Anyway, for my testing purposes, I'll be using two 2.5-inch SATA SSDs. SATA? I'll be creating a mirror pool for them, but they are mismatched sizes, so I'll be losing out on some of my storage. But it's all for the sake of testing, so whatever. You can get these into the hard drive bays, no problem. They just need some extra screws that are included. I'd love to get hard drives and M.2 SSDs in here too, but I just can't spare any right now. I can certainly work toward that now since I've got the NAS though. Anyway, after configuring the whole TrueNAS operating system, we are ready to rock. I'll stop writing this part of the script now and begin editing this video. I'll be back with some thoughts on how that all went. See you for the rest of the review in a sec. Alright, so it's been a couple days now since I first set up and started to use the N5 Pro NAS. I have to say, it has been a wonderful experience. Using this NAS, I've been passing data from all of my machines to one base that works quite well. It's been a much better way to handle things like writing projects, recordings, and my general editing work. I didn't set up a Plex or Jellyfin thing yet, but I do want to explore that at some point. Either way, it's been a really good means of doing my storage. I just need much more of it. Much more. When monitoring the NAS, I'm barely doing much of anything in terms of usage. There's just so much in there that the CPU and RAM usage is insanely low for my use cases. It's a good problem to have, but I want to be able to get into that for sure at some point. More projects for sure. Using the NAS for editing has been pretty great as well. No problem with scrubbing at all, which I wasn't all that sure of, adding a new variable to things. I edit everything in 4K and would on occasion hit bottlenecks here and there when working on my single machine setup, but offloading the storage to, you know, the NAS has seemingly helped out quite a bit. Maybe my storage in my main machine is just bad, but offloading it like this caused no problems and did help, so that's cool. I did have one weird thing come from this whole thing though, which was that my lame ISP given router decided to do an update and drop out. I wasn't actively monitoring it, but lost connection to my network, and eventually that meant the NAS as well. That threw a wrench for sure. It's very likely that there are a myriad of things I can do to mitigate this on the side of the router and possibly even inside of the NAS, but I'm just not really familiar with networking or NAS stuff yet. More work to do for sure. It was good that this kind of thing happened during the project though, so I have some sort of negative to say, although it isn't really at the fault of anything, but hey, whatever. After everything, I've not really had much in way of complaints with my setup. I could configure things a lot more, but the most glaring thing that I had come up is the sheer fact that I couldn't use all of the machine. There's just too much. But this was expected. In terms of where the product falls in the market, I can't help but feel it's inevitably going to be overkill for most people. From what I understand, you typically want a NAS to just be for storage. So such an overkill system feels a little strange. If you can utilize everything that this NAS has to offer though, then it can surely be incredible. It does all of this at a high cost though. I think the sale price, including the Black Friday promotional discount, is something like $1,464. And that's just for the base Pro config. Oh, one other thing is that it probably is worth mentioning that you'll always lose a storage slot for your OS in this machine, which is a bit of a bummer if you are trying to use everything available. When it comes down to it though, if you have a need for a NAS that is strong enough to do big renders and AI work, then this is definitely going to be able to do it. All in all, it is a great system that feels almost too strong for any use case that I can personally think of for me, but I'm excited to play with it a whole lot more. Here's hoping Minisforum can keep the momentum and keep these products going with new iterations as time goes on as well. Something super budget would be awesome, but that might not be what they're looking for. And if the market is, positive to this, then hey, there it is. With all of that that's said and done, be sure to check out the giveaway currently live on FreeGameFindings for your chance at one of 5 MKB i83 hot swappable mechanical keyboards from Minisforum. The board looks pretty solid, so hopefully that is of interest. Always nice to get a good hot swappable board. Aluminum base too, big fan. Happy to work on a project during this Black Friday event, and of course just with Minisforum at all. Fantastic thing to do. Thank you for watching. Huge thanks go out to Minisforum for supplying my N5 Pro NAS and the keyboards for the FGF giveaway. I hope this has been an enjoyable look at my first foray into the NAS world. Excited to tinker with it more when I have the time and to get my storage situated for it. Be sure to check out the Black Friday sale over on Minisforum's store while the deals last. Plenty of great looking stuff for a variety of needs. I've been Cedric. Feel free to check me out over on my personal stuff and keep an eye out on FGF as per usual. Thank you for watching and enjoy.